The New York Rangers season has definitely not gone to plan so far, as we are now, of course, about a little over a quarter of the way through the NHL season, and things are definitely not looking too great for the Rangers. They currently sit on the outside looking in of the playoffs. They're not even in a wild card spot right now. They continue to fall further and further back, as well as they just can't seem to pile on a bunch of wins together. And unfortunately, we've got some devastating injury news, which is not going to help this team out at all and is actually going to have a pretty massive negative impact on this team going forward. So we'll take a look at that injury news, but also later on in the video, we're going to discuss some more news and a bit of an update involving the Rangers as well. But let's start things off here with the injury news to, of course, the Rangers' arguably best player, I would say, so far this season, and that, of course, is Adam Fox. He has been quite incredible. He has been one of the better offensive and one of the better defensive defensemen in the entire league so far to begin this season. He's been amazing on both sides, and although, may not, of course, end up actually winning the Norris Trophy, I definitely think will be one of the top guys in conversation. Of course, now with the injury, that's going to hinder things a bit, and they might kind of push him back out of the discussion, but up until now, he has been absolutely one of the best and kind of top defensemen in the league so far this season, and now he unfortunately is going to be missing quite a bit of time. He got an upper body injury. It seemed like it was the left shoulder. It was reported that he ended up hurting, of course, in that game Saturday against Tampa, where the Rangers, of course, lose, but the bigger part is now it seems like we're going to be without Adam Fox for a good bit of time. As of right now, he did get put on LTIR, so long-term injury reserve, meaning he's going to be out for at least 10 games or 28 days. And, of course, with the kind of Christmas break that'll be coming up, of course, at some point in about a month or so now, it is reported that they're going to kind of come back and reevaluate things around Christmas. So we're looking at bare minimum a month of missing him up until, probably a little after Christmas at the very, very earliest. And if not, you're talking probably into January, maybe pushing towards February as well. Like, this could be an injury that keeps him out for, 1 to 2 kind of months, if not maybe even a little longer. Who knows? It does seem like, and it was reported that it's not probably too severe where he's going to have to miss the Olympics, which of course will happen in February, but this is just a really awful, awful spot for the Rangers to be in, as they haven't been a good team this year. Defensively, they have been much improved, but I think a large part of that is, of course, being able to finally have that elite defense partner for a guy like Adam Fox, of course, with Vladislav Gavrikov. And now you're losing your top defenseman, who has been, like I said, probably the best player you could say for this Rangers team so far. And just to lose him, I think, is going to be such a massive loss. The offense has, of course, been a massive struggle for this team. And, not only are you losing your top defenseman, who is great defensively, but you're also losing your best offensive weapon on the defensive side of things there, right? I mean, there's no one that really comes close to the offensive game that, Adam Fox does have out of the defenseman that this team has. A guy like Gavrikov, he's had a pretty decent offensive season, but he can't create and do what, Foxy does offensively. And, of course, a guy like Schneider's not, Borgen's not, a guy like Soucy's definitely not, Vakinainen and Robertson, they obviously can't. And there is a bit of a question with a guy like Scott Morrow, and I'm not saying he can be, as good as a guy like Foxy is offensively, but Scott Morrow is someone who, of course, we know does have a good amount of offensive talent there. He's played some NHL games with the Carolina Hurricanes last season in the regular season and playoffs. So he's got some experience previously. He's already been up with the Rangers before, and I think he's someone who definitely does have some upside, but in the limited kind of time we've seen him up, he hasn't really been too great, and the AHL hasn't been too phenomenal. So I'm not really sure what to expect from Scott. While Foxy's out injured, we'll see kind of how much time they end up giving him, whether it's, a good amount of power play time or not, or obviously just more kind of sheltered minutes. We'll have to wait and see kind of what the ultimate plan is with Scott, but he is someone who you definitely hope can step up in a pretty big way with Foxy out, as like I said, this team has definitely taken a pretty big step up defensively. That has been the kind of, best part of this team so far. It's been definitely the goaltending and defensive play, where the offense has been the biggest problem. So hopefully we don't see this team, continue to have their, bad offensive flaws, but then end up reverting back a bit defensively as well while Fox is out. And, if that happens, this team's going to be pretty much guaranteed to be out of the playoffs this year, as they might just fall too far back with him out. So we'll have to wait and see. And that's also another kind of big thing as well is, if this team does still have aspirations and, really wants to make playoffs, they're going to have to get as many wins and as many points as possible while Fox is out, because they're already on the outside by a decent margin right now, as of this second. And with Foxy being out, this team probably isn't going to do as good. So you just got to try and find wins and points wherever you can possible to stay in the mix there and hold on while Foxy's out, so that once he does come back and you're close to the trade deadline, maybe you are in a spot to end up buying, possibly. More than likely, unfortunately, probably not. So it's going to be a tough kind of, month and a bit here, obviously, but this is just going to be such a massive loss for this team that obviously absolutely had hopes of making the playoffs heading into this season. And next up here, we've got some much less devastating news, and that, of course, is the New York Rangers making a roster move as they decided to swap two goalies. They called up Spencer Martin, who was signed out of the KHL after he had his contract terminated with his club over there. He ended up losing the starting job, I believe it was, to a New York Islanders goalie prospect, so he decided to come over here, sign with the Rangers. Obviously started in the AHL with the Wolfpack, but with Quickie being hurt and having a goalie prospect by the name of Dylan Garand kind of acting as the backup, and of course he did not end up featuring in a game, the Rangers have decided to send him back down where he's going to get back to actually playing games there. He'll be the full-time starter once again in the AHL with the Wolfpack, and they call up the more experienced veteran goalie in Spencer Martin, who can probably fit in a better spot as the backup there, so you can have your young goalie prospect actually playing games where he can, still continue to develop there. And Martin is someone who, played solid over there in the KHL in Russia, has had a pretty decent career in the AHL and, a bit in the NHL as well in previous seasons. So he's definitely a solid pro goaltender. And of course, did make that one good appearance so far for the Wolfpack, stopping 35 out of 37 shots he faced, got the win there for a struggling and pretty bad Wolfpack team. So I think this is a smart and good move for the team. It makes sense, and obviously this is not some kind of drastic, big move there. It's not going to have too much of an impact on this team, but it is, of course, a kind of needed move and probably a smart one, because you can't have your young goalie prospect in Dylan Garand just sitting around for a long time. The Rangers, of course, did decide to give, the back-to-back game there to Igor, where he did play back-to-back games this past weekend. Obviously, normally they'd probably go with a guy like Quickie, but with him being out, they didn't want to obviously throw in Dylan Garand too. As of right now, definitely doesn't seem to be quite ready for the NHL level. Obviously, last season had a pretty good AHL run in the playoffs and regular season, but so far this season, and I don't think it's all on him by any means. I mean, his numbers are below like a 900 save percentage, but all the goalies are, except for Spencer Martin. There was 3 that have played so far, not counting Martin. They all had below 900s. They were all prospects, but this Wolfpack team is definitely struggling quite a bit. So I don't put as much weight into those numbers because of how bad the team overall has been. But as of right now, I'm just hoping that we end up seeing Jonathan Quick and Adam Fox come back at least somewhat soon from their injuries, as they are, of course, pretty big parts of this Rangers team, especially Adam Fox. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on the New York Rangers, and what are your thoughts on the roster change the Rangers made, calling up Spencer Martin, sending down prospect Dylan Garand, and of course, what are your thoughts on the absolutely horrendous news about Adam Fox being injured and missing at least, bare minimum, about a month. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and bye.